Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about why I think the Washington Commanders need to make the playoffs in the 2022 NFL season in order for it to be a successful season. So we're going to talk about that and if I think the Washington Commanders will even make the playoffs. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so please help me get there. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications. Now, let's get right into the video. So the first 2 years of the Ron Rivera era have definitely been interesting. You look at his first year, they were coming off of a 3-13 season the year before, and they didn't really have high expectations. They won 7 games and won the division. You know, the important part really wasn't winning the division. That was great. They went to the playoffs. They almost beat the Bucs. But going 7-9 and more than doubled their win total like Ron Rivera, that was 100% a successful season for Ron Rivera because they, won more than double the games that they won the year before. They went from 3 to 7, which is a huge improvement. And, they were able to get to the playoffs, and they, were close, somewhat close, to beating the Tampa Bay Bucs, who ended up winning the Super Bowl. And then expectations were much higher than the next year, partly because they won the division, but also because, they had they showed a lot of improvement from, 3-13 to 7-9. So a lot of people, myself included, thought they were going to be better than they were the year before. They weren't. They were, they won the same amount of games and had a lower winning percentage because of that extra game. And of course, there's a bunch of, reasons for that. Injuries, bad quarterback play, of course, tough schedule, but the bottom line is they did not improve from the year before, going from year 1 and year 2, and that, a lot of people expected them to take a big jump, and they weren't able to do that, which was definitely very disappointing for the Washington Commanders and Ron Rivera. So now entering year 3, the expectations are definitely, to improve, the expectations are higher, and Ron Rivera has set them high himself, and this is what Ron Rivera said in January, but he said it a bunch of times afterwards. He says expectations should be high entering year 3, and he said, we have holes we want to fill, we have some, players we want to make sure these are the right kind of guys. That's all part of the process I believe in. I didn't come here thinking it's going to be an easy turnaround. So he's been saying this offseason he expects a, good, he has high expectations for this season. He went out, got Carson Wentz, and did some other things. So he believes that this team is ready to compete. We will see. But in my opinion, to have a successful season, they have to make the playoffs. Like, there's no other way, around it. They have to make the playoffs. Year 1, yes, they made the playoffs, but it was 7-9, so in any other division, they weren't even coming close to the playoffs. Year 2 took a step back. Year 3, with a much easier schedule, hopefully staying healthier, they should be able to win more games than they did last year, first off, and second off, make the playoffs. It's a weaker NFC. It's not, as weak as we thought it would be with Rodgers possibly getting traded and, Brady retiring. Both those guys are back. But still, they have an easy schedule, and the NFC East isn't, it's not super weak, but it's still not an amazing division, and the NFC as a whole is weaker than the AFC. So, the Commanders went from the number 1, toughest schedule in the NFL last season to the number 1 easiest schedule, this season. So I think that that alone should help them improve a ton. And they also, Carson Wentz, like having him over Taylor Heineke, that should be an improvement and should be a significant one. We'll see if Ron Rivera and company in the front office, if they got the right guy in Carson Wentz, because they did give up a significant investment for him. A 3rd round pick, likely a 2nd round pick on top of that, and a 2nd round pick swap, and paying 100% of his salary for the 2022 season. So definitely a significant investment for sure. We'll see if it pays off. And, they also went 7-10 last year despite having all those injuries at the end of the season, the virus outbreak that, had them missing like 15 plus guys for a game, and just a bad quarterback play, and they still were able to win 7 games. So with the easier schedule, hopefully not as many injuries, and the improvement QB play, there is no reason why they should not make the playoffs this year. Much easier schedule, and hopefully healthy. They got some guys back in Curtis Samuel, hopefully Logan Thomas as well, and the addition of Jahan Dotson. This team needs to improve from last year, and at least by 2 games. 9-8 might make you the playoffs. 10-7 will almost get you in the playoffs guaranteed. And I think getting into the playoffs, if they can get to the playoffs this year, that's a successful season. I think also a goal should be, for the next 2 seasons, so 2022 and 2023, the goal should be to win a playoff game. If Ron Rivera can do that, or get to the playoffs in back-to-back seasons, either one, and I think that's successful. But if they can win a playoff game in the next 2 years, I mean, that's huge. The last time they won, I believe, was 2005, 2006, so that season right there. So it's been a very, very long time since they've won a Super Bowl, or not well, yeah, that too, but since they've won a playoff game, and that should also be, kind of a measure of success over the next couple years if they can win a playoff game, because they haven't done it in a while, and, they're kind of positioned where the NFC isn't super strong. They get an extra wild card team in there where they can probably sneak in in the next couple years and maybe win a playoff game. They were somewhat close against the Bucks, and they were close, of course, in 2012 against the Seahawks before RG3 towards ACL. But this team, I think personally, they are good enough to make the playoffs. The biggest factor is going to be Carson Wentz. How good is Carson Wentz in the 2022 season? If we get Carson Wentz from last year with the Colts, I feel like we'll probably be close to that 9-win range, probably 9 wins, around that range. If we get a slightly better version of that Carson Wentz, like let's say similar stats but a little bit more clutch, I think we'll be in that 9 to 10 win range. If we get 2019 Carson Wentz, then that's when we're really talking where we could win 11 plus games. But if we get a mixture of 2020 and 2021 Carson Wentz, then you're probably looking at like 8 games, and that's a losing record. You're likely not going to make the playoffs, and that's not a successful season. If they make the playoffs as a below 500 team, like 8-9, unless they win a playoff game, to me, that is not a successful season. I don't think they'll be in the position where, under 500 will make the playoffs. But again, there's another added team in the, wild card, so it makes it much more of a possibility. But, 7-9, if they make the playoffs like they did in 2020, like 7-10, 8-9, that's not cutting it. Like, unless they win a playoff game somehow with that record. So hopefully, they can take a step in year 3. Ron Rivera's talked about it where, he thinks they should. So, he's putting it out there. He's setting expectations high. So, they better live up to those expectations. Defense, I think, should be better this year. Hopefully, Chase Young and Montez Sweat can take a step up in this, in the 3rd year with Rivera. Chase Young's 3rd year overall. And I think the offense will be much improved. Like, I think they'll be a top half of the league offense, could be a top 12 offense. I think they can be maybe even top 10 if Carson Wentz really looks good. And I think if the defense can play above average, you combine those 2 units and combine with their easy schedule, that team should be able to make the playoffs. And maybe the NFC East will have 3 playoff teams. I doubt it, but I think it's going to be tough for them to win the division, but I definitely could see them making the wild card as that, 5th, 6th, or 7th seed. So let me know what you guys think. What would it take for you guys? What do you think would be a successful season for the Washington Commanders in 2022? And do you think the Washington Commanders will make the playoffs in 2022? So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.